Good morning, everyone. I'm Flavio. Thanks for joining our webinar. And today I'm going to present you the new features of Studio NPVS, the latest version, of course. This version came up in November last year, and let's have a look at the new features. All right. So initially, I'm just going to open my project here. Of course, this is a simple project, right? Because just for webinar purposes. I'm just going to run some quick optimizations as well. So I made sure that this project is simple enough, right? So initially this is just a simple gold and copper deposit, right? But just before we move further, I'm going to take you through the Studio NPVS windows, right? So initially this is our interface. This, for those who are not so familiar with Studio NPVS, this interface is new, right? Especially for the ones who are used to NPVS scheduler, right? And Studio NPVS is the evolution of the well-known NPVS scheduler, okay? So it has many features, and we can affirm that this is a complete strategic open pit mine planning system. And why is this tool so complete? Initially because you have all the tools necessary for block model preparation, which is fundamental for any type of optimization. And in addition to this, you have everything to prepare a block model. You are able to run scripts as any of our core tools do. It's also possible to evaluate reserves in a very simple way before importing the block model into Studio NPVS flow, okay? And of course, you have all the tools and functionalities here to optimize your pit. And eventually, I will also show you how to check the new reports, how to create new reports, and our very new sensitivity analysis tool which came up in the latest release as well, right? So initially, let's just have a look at the windows, okay? And initially, yeah, from the left to the right, we have our very user-friendly interface here called Ribbons menu, right? And in this Ribbons menu, it's very easy for the users to locate where the tools are, right? So initially here, this is our first ribbon called Home, and you have many functionalities here to manage your project, to create new objects, manipulate objects, as we find in any of our core tools, right? So the main goal of Studio NPVS, because it has all the optimization functionalities coming from the NPVS scheduler, but it does have many good tools for data preparation reporting, right? So you have everything here in your home ribbon where you're going to find, manage objects. It's important to mention that Studio NPVS is extremely able to manipulate objects, any type of 3D objects such as points, wireframes, okay? You're going to see how to manipulate these objects soon. Uh, Moving on to data ribbon. Data ribbon is also quite good because it's where you are going to import and export data, right? If you want, for instance, to import some restrictions and you are going to use these restrictions in your optimization, you simply come here and import the data, right? Of course, you also have here our extra process. Any type of table process will be available here in Studio NPVS, right? In addition to this, we also have our scripts and macro functionalities in Studio NPVS. Moving on to surface, this is quite intuitive. So whenever we need to manipulate surface triangles, we just need to come here to this ribbon and create surface, right? And this is to create solids, topographies, and pitch shells, for instance, and calculate the volumes, for example. And in this case, it's quite useful, especially when you want to validate your data before optimizing your pit, right? Making your data simpler and more reliable. Moving on to model, this is one of the most important ribbons here as well. As we know, it's part of the optimization process to prepare the block model, right? And you have any type of block model tool here. This is quite good, right? And this means that we can code block models, we can combine prototypes, we can also reblock block models, right? This is quite useful for optimization. Yes, it's also possible to create prototypes, adjust prototypes. So this means that we no longer need any type of tool to prepare our block model to start the optimization. Everything that you need is located here in Studio NPVS, okay? We have many tools here to split block models and so on. In reserves ribbon, we have the capabilities to evaluate strings and wireframes, okay? Optimization ribbon, this is quite unique to Studio NPVS, okay? It's just found in these two because it's where we're going to create some strings to adjust pushbacks, adjust PT optimization shells. We also can create here new reports. I also will show you shortly how to configure our batch tool, right? This is a new feature for this version. It's also supposed to use our Studio NPVS multi-mine module, okay? We also have the report ribbon, quite good as well. And it's where we're going to create reports, all right? Format ribbon, quite useful, especially when you need to filter objects and you need to create legends. It's quite common to create legends to evaluate a block model before starting the optimization. And here in format, you will find anything that is necessary to format legends and filter your objects properly in order to perform or validate your data in the optimization process, all right? Edit ribbon, it's quite good as well, very familiar for our users, right? It's where we're going to create objects, manipulate objects, such as strings. If you want to design polygons, design grids to adjust a pushback. Sometimes it's necessary to adjust pushbacks through grids, especially when you're working on some specific commodities such as bauxite, coal, right? This is quite common as well. And you have all of the design tools here in Edit ribbon, right? And lastly, our view ribbon. View ribbons, you're going to find the features to set views and this type of things, all right? Everything is going to be found here. It's possible to export PDF 3D here as well, quite useful to validate results to send this data to someone else, okay? And yeah, this is our top ribbon, right? Now let's just explore our side windows here. Initially here we have the project files, same as we have in Studio P and Studio RM. These are project files window. We can list here many objects, and if you want to check an object and to load the object, it's simple. Just drag and drop as we do in our tools, right? If you want to try to create a DTM or a pitch shell, quite simple. Just load your object, create our very first pit design here. This is our wireframe here. This is our pit designs wireframe, right? And this is quite good because you have any type of tool to manipulate 3D data, okay? And yes, this is just the project files. Here we have the project database where we're going to manage the data that's going to be used effectively in our optimization flow. You also have here the project map, where we're going to explore soon, right? We're just going to manage some scenarios, okay, in the project map window. And you also have here our sheets window, right, to manipulate the objects properly. All right. And on the right side, for those who are familiar with NPVS scheduler, we're going to have our task pane, okay? And this is a flow. We have here flow, right, to generate a pit shell, to generate pushback scheduler, and all the subsequent process. If you move down here, right, we will find our very new tool here called sensitivity analysis, right? And of course, this is for sensitivity analysis. It's a quite interesting tool, right? All right, so as I mentioned before, this is a flow. Initially, we're going to create an economic block model. We also will create an ultimate pit, a pushback, a scheduler, until get to the sensitivity analysis, right? All right, so initially, let's have a look at this existing scenario, right? I have already run a scenario just to save us some time. And of course, this scenario is good. It's a simple pit. Just going to have a look at the pit shell. All right, if I want to have a look at the pit shell, it's simple. I just load it. Right, just checking here. This is yeah, of course, this is our scenario called scenario 1, right? And this is our pit shell. I'm seeing now the benches below topo, so this bluish area around the pit crest, right? It's where we mine it, right, using this pit shell, okay? So this is our very first scenario. I have already run this, but let's say I need to account for a new exclusion zone, right? It's quite common to play with exclusion zones while you're running optimizations. And in this case, I will click to show you how to create a new exclusion zone, right? In order to create a new optimization scenario, right? I want to design an exclusion zone. It's quite simple. I just need to come to optimization ribbon and design a new pit limit, right? Let's draw a new pit limit somewhere here because I don't want to consider this area anymore in my new optimization scenario, right? So this is going to be a pit exclude area, okay? Save it. It's going to be a pit limit exclude. And I just need to define my label. It's done. Now I have here my pit limit exclude, right? I have 2 lines because I had drawn this here before, but no problem. Let's have a look. So I've just updated my restriction and I'm going to create a new scenario. Let's see, it's quite simple. Just need to come here, case study, and add, right? I'm going to call this scenario, this is going to be the exclusion zone. Exclusion zone, right? It's right here. I'm going to copy the settings, okay? Just to save us some time. Paste the settings. All right. So going to copy my ultimate pit settings. Paste this as well, okay? So this is my new scenario. I'm going to evaluate this one right now. Just need to select this one. Simple. Going to unload my data. It's already saved. And now I'm going to run my new scenario, right? Of course, I'm going to account for the new restriction as well. Quickly run the economic model. It's going to be quick. It's done. Now I'll just change my settings here for my PT optimization, right? Because I'm going to use my imported pit limit, which is updated now, okay? You also have the option to generate pit with minimum bottom, quite useful as well to represent the mining operations properly. Click OK and run. This is a simple scenario. It's not going to take more than 2 minutes to complete, right? After running this scenario, you're just going to load our very new pit shell and see if this new pit shell is honoring my new exclusion zone, right? This is quite common and quite, yeah, it's part of our day-to-day tasks as mine planners, right? All right, it's running, we're getting there. And of course, after running this pit shell, just before we check our wireframe, we are going to have a look at the new charts, right? Because we do have new charts in the latest release. Okay, 75%. Yeah, we always check the progress here in this optimization progress tab, right? It's good, very good. All right. The ultimate pit is done. Now it's just generating. Great. And now let's have a look at our very new reports, right? Yeah, and of course, you also have here our legacy tools. If you check up here, you have the option to use the legacy reporting tool, right? It's also available for the users, right? Especially if you have a template that you are very familiar with. If you want, it's possible to use the legacy tool, right? All right, firstly, you have here from the left to the right, you have a pit and face incremental report. We also have the cumulative one, right? Of course, these are our default columns. It's quite simple to change these columns if you want, right? It's just simply coming here and play with these columns in a very interactive way. It's also possible to save and load templates. Quite good, especially if you have a default report, and if you want to bring this report from any other project, you just come here and load your template, saving your time, right? And we also have here our charts. So these charts are quite good, quite interactive as well. If you want to change it, this is a very classic chart, right? Where you're going to check the NPV curve. You're going to check where these NPV curve will be stable, right? Before selecting your pit shell for the next processes, right? And you also have here the pit and phases contained and recovery, right? This is just the default template, as I mentioned before, but it's also important to mention that it's also possible to edit these charts, right? If you want to hide some information, you just come here and hide the information as well, right? And here you have the preview function, okay? Click OK, and your chart is updated. Quite interesting, our very new a very fresh reporting tool is quite useful, especially because it's possible to create templates, right? All right, so this is our report tool. It's found up here, and yeah, we have enough flexibility here, whether if you want to use new templates or use older templates. Yeah, it's quite flexible. All right, so now let's just check our scenario, right? It's completed. Now if I come here, I will have my new optimized bit called 31. Just going to have a look at it, load it. I want to compare this with my previous one, the one without any type of exclusion zone. Okay. All right. So if you check here, let's use bench below tuple for both, right? And optimize it bit 2. Let me just hide. In the optimize bit 2, we mined this area, right? As expected. But yeah, let's check the new one, the 31, right? And if you check the 31, looks great, right? Because we had our restriction here, right? Where is my restriction? Yeah, it's right here. And then we didn't disturb this area as expected, right? And this is quite good. This is our pit shell. If you want to check this pit shell against the block model for validation purposes, we just need to load a block model, right? I have the block model here. I will just load it, okay? And then let's create a class cross section, right? Let's create this cross section here just to check if the ore is okay at the bottom of the pit, right? Vertical cross section, I want to see this slice. And now let's have a look at it. My view is aligned, and we can check here. I have many nested pits around, but it's very interesting because you can check the progress. Of course, I don't have a proper legend here, but if you had a rock type legend, you would be able to check whether the pit bottom is mining the ore, right? According to our profit factors here, right? Anyway, this is quite interesting, quite good, because you can check a block model just after running the optimization, all right? That's why Studio NPVS is so complete, because you have any type of CAD tool, and you also have our complete optimization workflow, okay? So now let's go to our very new functionality, which is the batch running, right? And let's see how this batch tool works. It's quite interesting. I'm going to unload my data here, okay? And if you open here our optimization ribbon and go all the way to the right, we will find our very new batch tool, right? This is our batch tool. And what's this batch tool? If you want to run scenarios in a row, or if you want to run a very complicated project without having any type of interaction, we are just going to set our parameters for the economic block model, for your ultimate pit and pushbacks, and then you're just going to add all these stages, right, to batch, and then you are going to run this in a row without having any type of user interaction. This is quite useful, especially when you have a project where you find many mining blocks. And of course, if you do have many mining blocks, and if you're working on a more complex project, of course, this will take longer to run. And if this is going to take longer to run, you don't need to check this project all the time, right? You're just going to add the scenarios to a batch, and then you're going to run to process batch, right? It's simple. You just need to come here. For instance, my exclusion zone scenario. I come here, click with the right button, case study, and add to batch. Okay? Includes case descendants. Yes, although I don't have any type of pushback here, I just click the yes, right? Anyway, if I had pushbacks and schedules all set, right? In this case, I'll just run my batch here in a row. It's quite good, okay? And if you have a batch run, you will, if you want to, you can start here to process your batch, right? And it's also possible to show the files on the batch line, right? I haven't started running any type of this batch scenario, right? But it's possible to check everything that's on hold, right? Then you hit the process button, and then it's going to be run in a row, right? Saving time without having any type of user interaction. Okay, so these are very new batch, right? Oh no, batch 2. If you want to remove a file, right, or a deliverable from the batch, just come here, case study again, and remove from batch. Okay, remove case descendants, yes. Anyway, this tool is quite useful and it saves a lot of time. Uh, you can set the Studio NPVS to run as long as you want, right? It's quite good. And lastly, I will show you a very new tool, the sensitivity analysis. So let's have a look at the sensitivity analysis tool. This tool is quite useful when you want to check which of your optimization parameters are most sensitive, right? All right, it's still frozen here because I need to create a new sensitivity analysis scenario as well. Quite simple. If you want to create a new sensitivity analysis scenario, you just need to come here, click with the right button, and click sensitivity analysis. All right. Case study, select. Now I am able to play with my sensitivity analysis settings. Okay. Okay, let's create a simple scenario here. The first one I'm going to call plus 10%. The second one is going to be minus 10%. All right. I'm just going to change my mining cost here, okay? Just to see how my NPVS is sensible varying the mining cost, right? Of course, if you have many parameters, it would be even better because you would plot a very beautiful spider chart, right? Okay, all good, you are ready to run. It's a simple one, it's going to take around 2 minutes to complete. All right, let's run. And the optimization output, it's right here, it's running my sensitivity analysis here. And after running this sensitivity analysis, we will have a look at the new sensitivity analysis chart, right? This sensitivity analysis tool was also released in November last year. Okay. All right, it's running now. not going to take longer. And after finishing this sensitivity analysis validation, I will open our Q&A section, all right? We're getting there. It's a simple one. Of course, you usually run with many parameters. That's why batch 2 is quite good, right? Because you can just set this project to run and then check it after a while. Okay. Okay, now it's plotting my new chart. Okay. All right, these are our sensitivity analysis chart, right? And of course, this is a simple one because I'm just varying the mining costs, okay? It's a very simple one. And of course, if you have many parameters, we would be able to check a spider chart properly, okay? But it's very interesting to see how the NPVS varies, according to our optimization parameters, such as prices and costs and recoveries as well, okay? This is our very new sensitivity analysis tool. All right, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention and patience. Thank you so much. Bye.